What up, everybody? Weekly Q&A. And for those of you guys who are new around here, if you're not already following, I'm about to do some really cool stuff with the YouTube channel. I actually got inspired a little bit by my lawyer channel. I haven't updated my lawyer channel on YouTube in like 4 years, and I looked, and it's got 10 times as many subscribers as when I left, so I should probably start using it. And I want to be a little bit more intentional this time around and create like a kind of a vault where you guys can get all the coolest answers. So I'll post a link below after on the replay. I know these are at weird times for a lot of you, but if you're not on YouTube, get on there because we're about to be posting a whole bunch of stuff, really a whole bunch of like inside secrets that make agency life a whole lot easier, my friends. So let's get into the Q&A. Ashok says, do LinkedIn ads work for getting new marketing clients? What is the average CPL being cost for lead? Ashok, I get asked a gazillion times, does this platform work? Does that platform work? Does this platform work? And the answer is, if your people are on there, the answer is yes. As long as you make them a valuable offer that gets them to take some kind of action. It's been a while since I've run LinkedIn leads, and I remember them being pricier than YouTube, or sorry, not YouTube, rather than Facebook. I remember them being like $4 just for a click. So the leads were like $20, $30, but I remember them being a lot higher quality. So the question for you is, are your people on LinkedIn? And if the answer is yes, then yes, LinkedIn will work for you. And you just got to make sure your math works out. But there's no platform that doesn't work if your people are on there. So don't make it about the platform. Make it about what you're saying and doing to the people, your offer, your messaging, the value you're bringing, those kind of things. Kevin, any good online places to find commission sales closer? Kevin, this is kind of a two-parter, okay? There's a whole bunch of sales groups on Facebook that are full of people like that would be happy to sell for you. Now, in my experience, a lot of times when people look for a closer, it's because their offer isn't converting and they just want to dump the sales on somebody else. And most times what I find is you'll end up disappointed. You'll get a bunch of people who can't close any better than you do. And also, a word of caution when you do bring in a new salesperson, that some people can crush it in some niches and others, and it's anything but set and forget. So I would try them out usually between, like 10-ish, maybe 10-ish calls is pretty typical. Give them 10-ish calls and see how they do for you and see if they're workable, and make sure those calls are recorded so you can help them improve. But don't be surprised, by the way, when you bring in a salesperson if your conversion numbers drop. Like, for example, in my lawyer stuff, I can close like 80% of calls, but it's just because I know the people and I know the market. But when I bring in a salesperson, I got to be happy with like 20 or 30%. There are exceptions to that, like Preston in the group's a badass. But for the most part, your sales are going to drop when you bring in somebody. So if you're looking to just cover up for the fact that your offer isn't working, don't hire a salesperson. But otherwise, go post in those groups and you'll have 100 of them before this hour's up. Matt, have you seen Google's on a tear lately? They're ticked off that SEOs have been able to get map listings up across the world, millions of fake listings, and Google makes $0 off these listings. Why is that? Well, Matt, if you do SEO long enough, this is the game. It is a cat and mouse game between SEOs that are trying to temporarily game the system. When I first got into this, there was a very prominent software called XRumor, and it could build profile links on forums. So you go to a forum, you sign up, it's got a little profile page, you can put a link, and we used to build profile links 1 million at a time, and then obviously Google realized those are all spam and discounted those. So I would tell you guys, if you're trying to just cat and mouse Google, build some long-term shit that actually works for the long term, because trying to game Google is a winning game in the short term, but always a losing game in the long term. And I would say make sure you're wise about your Google traffic, that you're converting it into traffic that you control, your own list, your own audience. Don't expect Google to give you the free traffic gravy train forever, because I've never seen anybody who can keep rankings longer than 10 years. It may happen. There may be people out there. I haven't met them yet. So make sure you're setting it up so you win for the long term. Christian, how long does it take for Facebook to review your ad account after disabling it? Usually 48 hours, but it can be longer. I've seen it take weeks, where they say in this COVID thing. So I've harped on this a lot in this group already, so I won't go too long into it. But one, we got a script. that may help you get your account back. 2, start diversifying. Don't be dependent 100% on Facebook. And 3, convert that to traffic you control, and you'll stop being crushed every time Facebook decides to be Facebook. Ashish, has anybody ever tried YouTube ads for a car dealership? What kind of results are you getting? Ashish, I've not run YouTube ads for a car dealership, but as long as, again, if your target market is on there, then it can work. And YouTube ads are actually really, really cost effective and cheap right now. They probably won't stay that way forever. So if you can like really get in front of the right people, again, it's going to come down to your offer. If you're just saying this, if their car dealership is selling something they can get 200 other places in 200 different ways. Give you an example. My last girlfriend, we had the conversation of like, hey, if you could have any dream car in the world, of course, mine's a Ferrari. And, although that dream's probably crushed now that I got 2 babies, so I can't take 2 babies in a Ferrari. But, she said, it was a Volkswagen Beetle, and she said, I don't like the new model. I like the 3-year-old one. And it turns out it's actually really hard. She wanted it in green or yellow. It's really hard to find those. So if you got like a green or yellow Volkswagen Beetle, you got an advantage, right? So like find something unique and valuable and then pair that with YouTube ads. But yes, YouTube ads can work. I can't tell you the cost because I've never ran it in that niche, but yes, they can work. Miles, how much do you charge for SEO per month in US dollars? Miles, a lot of this actually depends on how good you are at the SEO and who you're doing it for. I would say very typical is anywhere from like 500 US dollars to 10 grand a month. And I would say probably 80% of people are in the 500 to 2,500 per month. And then there's people who are doing it like 5, and then on the higher end of the spectrum, you'll see people doing it for 10. Now, the people who are doing it for 10, by the way, are not necessarily better at it than the people doing it for 500. Believe it or not, often it just happens to be who they're dealing with, how important that SEO is for them. So, for example, the top law firms in the world will hire $10,000, $20,000 a month SEO agencies, and they want somebody who's specialized in that niche. But really, anybody can be a specialist in anything they want. It has more to do with offer making than SEO skills. Conrad, should we stop doing retainer model? Conrad, I always say the first person that your agency has to work for is you. I'm bad at pointing to the camera here. So if retainer's working for you, keep doing it. But I'll tell you, long term, you can make more money if you at least, you don't have to switch. Like, obviously, I'm a big fan of profit sharing stuff, if you guys have heard me do that. But you don't have to go like one extreme or the other. You can actually set up your basic retainer and give it profit sharing and room to grow kind of scenarios, and then you'll find that you get the best of both worlds. As you win with clients and as it grows, you make more money, they make more money. But there's no one right model. There's just what works for you. So if you're happy with retainer and that makes you happy, but I'll tell you, just as an entrepreneur, one of the reasons why we make a lot more money than most people when we do it right is because we have far more risk tolerance than most. Like, most people are just like deathly afraid of risk, don't want to lose money, don't want to lose. And so if you can be paid second in a deal and take on all the risk, you can make far, far more money and ask for much better terms by just setting it up that way. Abby, how do you guys deal with Google fake reviews? Someone's given me 1-star reviews with different accounts. I mean, you can contact Google. That's one thing. And obviously the most important thing is like actually take a long form reply, and you want to kind of, spell out the fact that for anybody reading that they're not a real customer. I've seen it too. Like, sometimes this happens for real. They can be real reviews, but somebody calls up like a law firm, and they don't handle the kind of business that person called about, and they say, sorry, we can't help you, and they turn them away, and that person gets really pissed off and leaves them a bad review. But they were never a client, right? They were just somebody who didn't like the answer they got on the phone. They were rude to me because they told me they couldn't help me, right? So the best thing you can do is like have a long form. Hey, sorry we couldn't help you. We always do our best to take care of people, but this is just not one of our areas of practice. For anybody who's reading this, thinking about being a client, these are the things we do, and we're sorry we couldn't help you, but we find it's best if we help these kind of people. And, leave a long form review, just indicating that it's fake. So like some people will read it and see that and, understand you're not a shitty business. Last one, Henry. Anyone know why my website isn't getting traffic anymore? I dropped from 1,500 monthly to less than 200 monthly. Henry, I'm assuming you're depending on SEO traffic, and more than likely your rankings went down. I mean, if you don't know where your traffic is coming from, it's hard to answer that question, but it sounds like just how you said it, that you're dependent on SEO, and SEO is very hit and miss. It's very touchy-feely based on Google, which is why I always say use the more direct paid ads, kind of organic outreach marketing. Get your offers working on people and then add SEO last. A lot of people do that backwards. They try and build the traffic and then find out either A, their stuff doesn't convert, or B, Google can just kick you out overnight. So SEO is like really a foundation of sand. Like I said, I've never seen anybody keep a ranking for more than 10 years or 5 years. If you really want to be in business that long, then you need other sources of business, and SEO is just like free bonus gravy traffic. But I'll tell you, Henry, 200 visitors a month is enough to be monetizing that. So there's actually a deeper issue going on with your offer, because it sounds like you're assuming the way to make more money is just to increase traffic. And just to let you know, like my webinar that was doing 50,000 a month in the lawyer space got exactly 300 registrations per month. So this idea that you need a gazillion people is not true. You can do it with a very, very small amount of people if they're targeted and the right people. So you want to think more about that, and not how I can get like all the traffic, but think about more how I can get the right traffic. I'd rather have 10 of the right visitors than 1,500 just kind of vanity visits. So I hope that's useful to you guys. And if you're not already, get on the damn YouTube with us, because it's going to be awesome. I can't tell you the cool stuff that's coming, but I've got a notepad full of cool stuff coming for you guys. Anyways, may the force be with you.